Okay, this video is going to be going over measuring your tools without using the tool probe that comes with the machine. So we're going to be actually measuring it off our workpiece that we have in the machine. So you first mount your workpiece in your jaws like you're going to be using it. And what you're actually going to be doing, especially for the first tool, is you're actually going to be making a cut on the part to establish your datums, your X and your Z. So we're going to close the door. We're in MDI, and we have a little program just to start the spindle, S1000 M03. M03 if you have an upside down tool. And you just hit cycle start. Okay. So now, using hand jog, we're going to bring our tool. We're doing tool number 1. Over to our part, and use caution here so you don't wrap it into your part. I know you can't see this, but what we're doing is just bringing the tool up on our Z face. I just touched off. I'm going to bring it in a few more thousandths. Cut all the way down the face. I'm just going to bring the tool out, and you don't want to move it in the Z direction, just in the X direction in this case. Just stop the spindle and take a look. Okay, as you can see, we only cleaned up half the part. So I'm going to want to take more off. So I'm going to close the door back up, turn my spindle back on, and move my Z in, we'll say maybe 10 thousandths. So now we got a clean face and we got our Z face established. We didn't move our tool in the X at all. So what you're going to want to do then is you come over to your screen, go into offset. There's going to be a work offset. For your work offset, for when you're doing this, you definitely want both X0 and Z0. And we're going to go into tool geometry. We're working with the Z, so we're going to bump over to the Z, and we're just going to hit Z face measure. It's going to put a value in there. So that established where the end of that part is according to the tool. So now we're going to make a little cut on the X. So we're going to start our spindle back up using caution. We're just going to make a little cut. On the X direction. Once again, you can see we didn't really clean up. And it doesn't need to be 100% clean up, but you definitely want to pass 180 so when you get a measurement, you can get a good measurement. We'll get it all the way cleaned up. We'll try one more cut. Sure, now we have 100% cleanup. And here again, now we didn't move it in the X direction. We just went in on the Z and we came back right out. So that tool is right where it was when it cut that. So now you go back to your offset page, make sure you're in your geometry, highlight the X for the tool that you're using, and you're going to hit X diameter measure. Now you see this says enter diameter. Now you're supposed to enter the diameter that it's actually cut. So we're going to grab our micrometer. Get a good measurement. And that part measures 2.967. So we're just going to input 2.967. We had a value in there, so we're going to erase that 2.967. And we're just going to hit right enter. And now that offsets that tool so it knows where the center of the part is, where our G54X0 is. So that tool is all done. So now if we want to measure another tool, we have to rotate our part, our turret, to bring in tool number 2 if we want to measure tool number 2. You definitely want to make sure you send the machine away from your part so it does not wrap it into it. So we do a tool change. We can just do a tool change forward. It's asking us to do a hand jog in this machine before it does it, so we'll do that. Okay, so we got tool number 2 up. Hand wheel it over. Once again, use caution so you don't break nothing. Now you're going to be using a piece of paper, the 1,000th mode. Just bring that in until you feel the friction. Okay, right there I can just feel a drag. It doesn't want to move. So I go back to my offset page and my tool geometry. How we're working on the Z, and we're going to hit Z face measure. Okay. Now, if you really want to be accurate, you want to measure your paper and offset that. This paper measured 3/1000ths. So I'm just going to account for that 3/1000ths by hitting minus 0.003, still in the Z, and just add that to it. So that's the Z. So now we're going to hand jog. Once again, be very careful that you don't go in the wrong direction. We got to do our X. Using your paper. Okay, right there. I can just feel it dragging across. Come over here, highlight my X, and I'm going to hit X diameter. Now the part still measures 2.967, and that defaults back to this, so I can just hit right enter. Okay, but now we do want to offset for our paper. Remember, it measured 3/1000ths, but now you have to double that because it was the 3/1000ths only on one side, so it's a radius value, and this works off a diameter, so we want to do minus 0.006. And right enter it. So those two tools are ready to go and run your part. Now as long as if you took this part out and then had a different length, obviously you would have to redo the Z face. So that's how you measure your tools using the manual method.